Al pie del Ávila majestuoso, a 920 metros sobre el nivel del mar, en un valle de verde geografía que se abre de este a oeste, surge Caracas, la capital de Venezuela.
And now, our feature presentation.
You are watching a master at work.
Go get some!
What's going on, fellas? My name is Rafael Chacin, and with my co-host Zion Zenith, welcome to another episode of The Combat Club, where Mr. Martial Arts, boxing, and wrestling fans are united to hang with us on a podcast where we give you a close-up of previews and reviews of the pay-per-view that are trending in the world. During the weekend, also we got debates, news, interviews on the street, stats, story, film study of rookies and veterans at the octagon, presented by two hosts, which is Capitán Rafucho and Zion Zenith. It's a show with 100% extreme attitude because in this club, we are born to fight anywhere, anytime, anyone. So don't be a pussy and fight like a real man. And I just wanted to tell you, this is the fight week that all you've been waiting for, ladies and gentlemen. Because it is time. It is time, y'all. It is time. It is time for the UFC 319 Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev on Chicago. And of course, make sure to subscribe to Capitán Rafucho and of course my co-host Zion Zenith on YouTube. Also, you can follow me on every social media, Twitter at Capitán Rafucho 93, Instagram at Capitán Rafucho 93, on Kick. So right now, it is the perfect time to see a lot of action on the UFC 319 on Chicago. So let's get it.
Boy, we got a banger, man. Like my co-host just said, Raphael hit it. The intro perfect as ever, my friend. And boy, don't we have a banger. Welcome to another edition of the Combat Club. But before we break down UFC 319, I know we have breaking news that we're going to get to. A big deal came over the airways this past week, Raphael. What happened? Tell these people what happened.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, because all over this week, because they have some breaking news, and some people are really shocked about the deal because UFC, it's no longer with ESPN because he brought it home. He brought a new home, and guess what? The new home is gonna be Paramount Plus, ladies and gentlemen.
Plus, ladies and gentlemen. Toast to Paramount, by the way. Can we get a beatbox drink to the Paramount Plus? Go right ahead, Raphael.
Yes.
Tell me what it means, because a lot of people thought it was gonna be Netflix.
Everybody thought it was gonna be a Netflix, but you know, they just move it to the Paramount Plus because they will find a new home beginning in 2026 because they definitely will air not only 35 nights, but also 13 number events. And the pay-per-view model is gone because all the UFC events will be on Paramount Plus on the United States with select events. Will be simulcast via CBS Sports. But of course, there'll be no added pay-per-view charges coming up there in 2026. Because which means no more choice between crap $80 for the pay-per-view or even crap prepared to stream. Because even if Paramount Plus raised the price, it's still a win situation. Because this is awesome news. Because I fear the quality, but it's gonna be like more watered it down now since UFC won't incentivize to put in exciting one-off events. Because I guess they have going for a while anyway. So this is gonna be show and net win for us. Because this is not the first time the UFC is going to Paramount Plus, because if you guys remember, the UFC was moved to Spike long way before in 2005, because they just brought not only the reality show that shocked the entire world with a lot of prospect, which is The Ultimate Fighter, but of course they brought a lot of events and they introduced some fight nights on Spike.
You know what is fun about this deal is, just the evolution of streaming services. You take a guy like Larry Ellison, a top CEO in his respective craft. He forms this company named Oracle. He makes all of this money from there. You may ask, like, Zion, why are we talking about Larry? Well, guess what? His son, owner of Skydance, merges with Paramount Plus, and then he wants to go and he wants to make Paramount his kingdom. So what do? They invest and they end up buying Paramount Plus. Not only do you get Paramount, but you get CBS. And when you buy a top three, whether it be NBC, TBS, or obviously Disney's Fox, you're a major player in the game. What is his first move? He comes over and he buys Southport, a major franchise that is just major in its own right. And then he says, you know what? I want to own a sport. Why not us? Why not us be the home? Everybody thought it was going to be Netflix. Everybody thought it was going to be Apple TV. Nobody even thought about Paramount Plus. But this was a major, big-time move for Paramount Plus and for the future of streaming, because I do think that over the next couple of years, you're going to see Paramount Plus go from a shitty-ass service that the IP don't even work half the time with their infrastructure. Half the time, like compared to Netflix, you just click on the show, it launches immediately, everything is just flawless. But I just think the whole infrastructure of their menu, but not only that, but with their IPs, they do now have the UFC, they have the whole Taylor Lewan's universe, they have the whole Tom Cruise's movies, and their whole Skydance catalog, they have the whole Southport catalog, and now they're just bringing a product like the UFC to only grow the UFC. Not long ago, UFC made a deal 5 years ago with ESPN for $1.5 million. 5 years later, they're selling their product for $1.1 billion, and that's just per year, and that's just the win. So it's a $7.7 billion deal, $1.1 billion a year. What a win! When you have the NFL selling 17 games to Amazon for $1 billion, and you have the UFC selling 1 year of content for $1 billion, it just shows that the UFC has grown so much. And when you have a figure like Roger Goodell saying, hey, the NFL is not competing with the NBA or the NHL, we're competing with Apple and Google.
Exactly.
And then when you have Paramount being owned by one of the best tech wizards in all of the land, it's just a perfect combination for the UFC. Man, boy, am I excited. Back over to you, Raphael.
Exactly, because all over those news, because we got to check this out, because UFC has agreed to a 7-year with $7.7 billion exclusive United States media rights with Paramount. They're all the beginning in 2026. All those events will stream at Paramount Plus only in the United States, with select events also airing on CBS, because this is a great decision that we're teaming out to stream all over those fights, because this is like the modern version of pay-per-view for this kind of event, because we all know that WWE figured it out for a long time ago, changing them for premium live events and putting on the stream service. It makes sense to catch on now what they have, the same parent company. Now, meaning a lot of less that the business model, it makes sense to be like an age where people want everything on the streaming services, and companies are keen to find always to nickel and dime those persons that pay-per-view model is dying, and that the companies will want to exit before they receive enough of the fan rate erodes. Because not only UFC, it became part of this Paramount home long way before, just like in Spike, but also, if you guys remember, Bellator was part of the transmission on Spike, because they know exactly what is better. Because even though that I just saw a social media picture of Michael Chandler using the Paramount logo, because he understands that he became like one of the greatest electrifying athletes in Bellator, MMA, UFC. So right now we can say this, UFC right now has a new home, which is in Paramount, which is gonna be so much better. So I just wanted to tell you, good riddance to ESPN, because right now in 2026, all those UFC events is gonna be in Paramount Plus.
And you know what the best thing about it is we get a White House court event on CBS. Can't get better than that. But boy, do we have a 313 or 319. I'm sorry, 313. Boy, do we have a 319 fight cards preview. So back over to you, my friend.
Yes, because we got some fight predictions, and after we can talk about the merger of UFC with Paramount Plus. So right now, let's just get it with the main card of the UFC 319 on Chicago, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, we got Tim Elliott versus Kaya Sakura for the flyweight. Now, Asakura for striking is a little bit of a wrecking ball, but he does really fantastic damage when the fight remains standing. However, all the kind for the ends where he's taken down, so he has a striking advance for sure, but I still don't know he's well-rounded enough to keep the fight standard. We train for the wrestling and grappling. This is what I do expect Tim Elliott to shine as a wrestler at heart. But I'm not really sure if Asakura terrorized improvements with a counter or stiff of the takedowns of Elliott. Still, he's a prime candidate for all bet. And we're seeing Elliott fight still. It makes you wonder what year we're in. And I'm still concerned that they take Elliott points and I'll bet because they're going to be on test territory regarding Asakura's takedown defense. So it's not a bad wrestler. It's just been like a lot of chinny coming up there. So I will tell you for this one, I would love to see Tim Elliott with the submission because I would love to see that.
Wow, I love that. Love that prediction. And unfortunately, the fights on Saturday will not be showing it, but this is a preview. Appreciate you being here, my friend. I love it. No, Elliott has a wild style. He's an unpredictable fighter. You know, he's an explosive, extremely strong submission type of fighter. You know, he's always going to scramble if he gets taken down. He's going to try to take you down, but he's really unorthodox with his style, and that kind of make it a weakness for someone like Kai. You know, Tim Elliott is a veteran fighter. He's been in the game for a really long time. It says here at Tapology, he's 20-13, but in the UFC, he's 9-11. And that's just a lower than 500 record. Going against a guy named Kai. Now, Kai, if he gets the right angle with the explosive power, he's a furious striker, and he has a high finish rate. I think he's going to hurt Tim Elliott. Being that Tim Elliott is the veteran here, he's the older fighter, he's going to get hit. And I just think coming from Wizen, the UFC respected him enough to give him Pantoja and to give him a title shot immediately off the back. Right off the back, you immediately get a title shot. I love the pick that you said, Tim Elliott by submission, because he's absolutely right. Raphael's absolutely right. If this fight goes to the ground, Tim Elliott's submission game will probably end this fight. But in my opinion, I don't think this fight goes with the ground. I love Tim Elliott as a pick, but I'm going to have to go with Kai. I'm going to have to go with inside the distance by knockout.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest, right now, for Tim Elliott versus Kaya Sakura, because I know this Morley style will normally pick on him because he's 38 years old and he's coming off with a serious knee injury. But also the fight is around the corner and he has to deposing yet for the training camp. Now, they've been following him for years and usually a lot of training footage during camp. So this might be the last dance for an Asian fighter because I know that Asakura lands some pretty big knees, some Pantoja. They'll put all over the flyweight south because Pantoja, it's a smear out of the stone. But this fight doesn't require further a few minutes of analysis because they're just giving like a title shot for a reason. But his own league is his own.
Facts. Let's get into the Page versus Jared Cannonier fight. What makes this fight so interesting to me is I think a lot of people's gonna pick Page due to his unique, unorthodox style as a striker. I think he's immediately fast at taking the center, and he's incredible at his speed and his distance. I think his distance, he's going to control the fight from the outside. The biggest problem with Page is we don't really know about his wrestling. Like, we know about his wrestling, but in the UFC, that's what I mean. And I just honestly think that with Cannonier, being that he is 41, I just think that he still has the last thing to go is the power with Cannonier. And I just think that Page looked good, and he's passing every single test that they put against him. And I just think this is a This is a tough fight for him. I honestly think that the public is gonna take Page, but I'm gonna go out on the limb and I'm gonna just say Cannonier by knockout. I just say that Cannonier has never really been hit to the point where he's gonna get hurt. I mean, like, I don't see Page landing one sniping shot that's gonna put Cannonier out. Cannonier usually loses in fights, but he's losing, but he's still throwing and he's still trying to take his opponent out. And with Page, I can see him hitting Cannonier not getting wobbled by those hits, hitting Cage back with a little bit of leg kicks, mixing in the wrestling and the pressure, and coming out with either a decision or a knockout. I would love to hear your thoughts on this fight.
Yes, I would love to see those predictions. But to be honest, right now, between Jarek Cannonier versus Michael Page, as known as the MVP, for striking, as much as Cannonier dangerous on the feet, he needs to get close to the distance with a rather iffy within the order to land his shots, because MVP strikes, they're really long range. So probably Cannonier is going to be had to walk through some heavy straight shots in order to the boxing range. It was going to be like a challenge in itself, because many had tried to do against MVP and many have failed.
Yep.
And for the wrestling and grappling, I think Jerry Cannonier probably does need to wrestle here, because I don't see that he can win on the feet, that clearly he makes the mission marks bow, but they had tried against MVP on Wireless Gary, finding a lot of success. So there's still a change to enter the range, because MVP, Michael Venom Page, just intercept the incoming movement, but a big straight jab or straight right. So I will do for this one. Give me Michael Venom Page at knockout round number 2.
Absolutely love it.
Yes, indeed. All right, so talking about Jerry Cannonier versus Michael Venom Page right now, let's just get it started with the lightweight, I mean. King Green versus Diego Ferreira. Now, between for King Green versus Diego Ferreira, for the strength
fight got canceled due to injury. So that fight is actually canceled. So we can actually talk about Jeff Neal versus Carlos Pereiros.
Oh, Jeff Neal
versus Carlos. That's going to be a banger. Go right ahead, my friend.
Jeff Neal. I mean, yeah, sorry about that, because right now it is Jeff
fight would have been bomb. But that fight got canceled. But go right ahead, Rafael. My bad, my friend.
All right. All right, let's just get started with the welterweight. Jeff Neal versus Carlos Perates, part of the Fighting Nerds. Now, between for the striking, both are really, really good boxers. But I will argue that the reach advantage of Pratis is going to shine where this 1-2 combinations are fairly solid. And Neal comes at attended for a little bit square, a little bit of central line where he fights, so he's quite hittable, and Pratis' power is still very much the big talking point still. Despite the rider tip that he fights against Gary. Now, for the wrestling and grappling, this is where GF Neal can potentially pull ahead for the scoreboards, the scorecards, because we haven't seen Neal for the years in this wrestling before. But I have to wonder if Carlos Perates for the Fighting Nerds can evade those takedowns, because he has showed decent takedown defense, but the sample size of takedown defense is a little bit low, because we all know that Gary is trying to take down 19 times, setting 4 of those times. But that laid nothing major. So this grappling defense is someone tested, because I would love to see classic practice knockout. So I will say this. Give me Carlos Pratis, part of the Fighting Nerds, knockout round number 2, because I'm still very high on despite the tough loss against Gary. So I would love to see Pratis.
I absolutely would love to see Carlos get the victory here. His last competition, he went out against was it Gary his last? No, I don't think Gary was his last. I think honestly he fought another guy. No, Gary was his last. Yeah. So he went out against a tough competition in Ian Gary that's truly undefeated. The only loss comes against one of my favorite fighters in Shakurat, deservedly so. But what does Carlos bring to the table? He's exciting. He's powerful. His high finish rate, and he's going to swing the momentum always in his favor. He's going to push the pace. He's going to show clean and accurate strikes. It's going to look crisp. His power is truly great for the division. Now, he's shown against Ian Gary that wasn't his night. He looked stale. He looked off. He looked like he was reacting rather than focusing on his game plan. He looked like he was waiting to smoke a stove after the fight, honestly. Okay? But what he's going to do is he's going to smoke a cigarette after this fight, but he's going to smoke it in celebration because Jeff Neal, he's just a veteran at this point. And he's very tough. He's very durable. He has excellent boxing. His ability to last, his ability to absorb punishment is absolutely just great. But he is 35, and his cardio has been an issue as of late. And that is the reasons alone I'm going to take Carlos Prates from the Team Fighting Nerds. Second round knockout. It's just going to be a wrap.
Ooh,
fight,
that's
boys,
so great.
Fight this Saturday. It's tomorrow, and Carlos Prates will put the Fighting Nerds back on the winning record because I believe there was 18-0 before he lost. So they're going to be 19-1 after it because I don't think anybody fought since. So, sorry, Jeff Neal, give me Carlos.
There you go right now. There you go. Because I would love to see that because I know that Carlos Prates got a lot more interest because to be honest right now, I mean, Neal is not the quick finisher they used to be because he was turning into the tank and he used to throw like under 4 strikes a minute. Now it's over 5-5 again, so he just walked forwards away. But they cleaned it up with a big difference, big time, because they hit to over 7 strikes a minute. Now it's under 5. But I think practice is gonna be so much easier because they can be winning because they have to stay
smooth with it. He
exactly
look levels above Jeff, and we love Jeff because Jeff's a long-time UFC veteran, but Jeff's aging and 35 is different. Like we've seen 35-year-olds win the belt in the upper divisions like DC, but at the end of the day, it's like you're going against a prospect that just lost a really tough fight. Carlos is going to try to prove a point in this one.
Yep, exactly. And I just wanted to tell you before they get to move in, so thank you very much for all those comments. We got Anthony Provencio, we got Pugboy, we got Sammy, we got H. Labille, what is the fight, boys? Well, the fight is going to be tomorrow, Saturday, at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Listen, this to say DDP is good money this weekend, so we can talk about this later.
Not only excellent money, but definitely going to talk about later, but he's only 7,400 on draft picks. So I know 60% of the field is probably going to take Chimaev, but if you're looking to save value, this wouldn't be a good time to take DDP in a DraftKings event. But continue.
Exactly. And
we'll talk about that when the fight comes out.
Yeah, and of course, I just wanted to tell you, I apologize for that fight because I didn't understand it was canceled about the fight, but yeah, we all know about that. So, ladies and gentlemen,
you know how much times fight got canceled? There was a time that we had 15 fights booked, and then we had 13 fights booked, and then fights got rearranged. 7 different fights got canceled. It's to change this fight card, but we end up with, I believe, 12 or 13 really good fights. Sad to say, a lot of fights that we really wanted to watch got canceled, but there's a lot of fights that didn't. And not like we really wanted to watch. It's just some fights really meant things that needed to be answered, but we'll get that at a later point. Go right ahead.
Yeah, we get a lot later. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we got the co-main event coming at you because we got Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico. Because for the striking, no, this is going to be to ramble a little bit here because we all know that Murphy has fantastic boxing, and I just think that Pico striking is heavy undermade here because there's not going to be all spoken about. His left hook, his left uppercut, or prime attack this weekend, but it all lands on the flat side of Murphy's body, so I'll probably expect it either attack the liver, so Pico early on the chin. However, there's going to be the largest drawback, what makes Pico great offensively on the feet, that a chance to keep it countering. So they're going to keep an eye on Murphy returning fights legally. And for the wrestling and grappling, Pico's well known for this wrestling. We all know that he's known for the wrestling style. But he's also a couple legs for the top of a couple legs. But when it comes to wrestling, that I expect to be the main threat for Murphy. But if Aaron Pico, is unable to match the takedowns with all the strikes, they'll be fine behind Murphy's takedown defense is on point. It should be like more direct route to the victory, but I'm definitely curious how the effective will be. Because Victor is unlike the other two Bellator fighters that make their debut. So they're going to think of for a little bit special fight around for this time. But people didn't know that performance of Liam Murphy was against short notice that game. Didn't impress it at all. If anything is the fight against Emmett, made it a ban on him, but this is going to be instant. Because some people didn't know about Aaron Pico, but they know he's a good striker and wrestling in his back pocket. Because they just wanted to know how many people are on Murphy's side. Because not every Bellator fighter can be a disaster. And they get to change it. There's so many competition from Bellator to UFC. They might be a factor in playing, choosing those picks. Because it's going to be decision, submission, or a knockout. So give me Lerone Murphy as unanimous decision at round number 3.
Good shit. Well, Aaron Pico, you know, definitely I hyped up Pitbull when Pitbull was coming to the UFC. But when you had a guy with the wrestling pedigree, and I believe he was All-American. I might be wrong about that, but he got gold in some Grand Prix, some grand tournaments. Definitely, he did worlds, golden worlds. I mean, like, this guy's wrestling resume. Been training at American Kickboxing Academy under great coaches. Been training on Jackson Rink, Greg Jackson. This guy's MMA career is absolutely top level when it comes to competition in the Bellator scene. But not only that, just in the worldwide scene, this guy not only has been wrestling for a really long time, but he's been fighting for a really long time. And what he brings to the table is it just shows how much the UFC respects him. He was supposed to take on Mozov, and Mozov is 19-0, never lost a fight in ever. And they gave him and they fed Aaron Pico him. And it just shows how much the UFC really respects this guy. He's definitely a world-class wrestler, like I just covered, an elite athlete, like I just covered. He's huge amount of power with his striking. He can knock out anybody on the planet in his respectable division. But on the other side, we have a guy named Murphy that his fight IQ is second to none, one of the best the sport has ever seen. He's always gonna stay safe. He's always gonna put himself in the best situations to win the fight. A lot of people may say that's fighting safe, but I believe it's fighting smart. You don't become 16-0 by being reckless. Now, it doesn't say that that Leon Murphy doesn't have any knockouts on his records, submissions, or anything like that. This guy has a lot of knockouts on his record and a lot of submissions on his record. Not as much as decisions, but he has certainly the power to back it up. Reason why I'm gonna pick Murphy and reason why I think it's gonna be inside the distance is I don't think that Aaron Pico's fight IQ is quite on the same level as Leon Murphy's. And I just think that as much as he's a great wrestler, I just think that Leon Murphy ain't gonna put himself in a situation to be not in control of that fight. I think Leon Murphy is gonna control that whole fight from the start. I think Aaron Pico is going to try to implement his game plan, but Leon Murphy is going to shut it down. And if you want to talk about levels of competition, I think Pico has fought the better competition up to this point, but Murphy has fought good competition. And I just think this is another one that I think this is a big moment for Murphy. I think Leon Murphy needs to come in here. He needs to put on a statement. He needs to go in here and he needs to knock out Pico. He needs to knock out Pico because everybody in the public, everybody's picking Pico because of his wrestling, because of what he did in Bellator. This is a moment like I talked about in other episodes of the Combat Club. You need to go in here and you need to defend the UFC's banner, Murphy. You need to go in here, you need to beat him, and you need to beat him, and you need to make it known that you're next for the title because no one's talking about you. I think the next for the title is more so because the champion's talking about him. Let Alexander talk about you. If Leon Murphy can come out here and get a big victory, Alexander will start talking about him, and I think that's what he's going to do. So 17-0, Leon Murphy coming Sunday morning.
Exactly. We all know about this. And right now, after we just wanted to make very sure it all, because it's about time for the main event that all you've been waiting for. Hit him out.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good one.
it's time to preview the main event, Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev on Chicago. Because let me tell you for this one, because it's going to be so much interesting. Because for the Strike League, DDP is going to run circles around Chimaev when it comes to Strike League, because there is like a massive chance and skill level when it comes who's the better or more dangerous striker. Because that power is unfathomable. He's quite talented and skilled when he wants to be, and I mean, Chimaev's striking looks very sloppy because it reminds of Mohamed Mokaev's striking a little bit. But for the wrestling and grappling, we understand that Chimaev, most people, is one of the most dangerous human beings known to the multiverse. But DDP is now like a spring chicken on the ground because he has a decent submission defense. And he has a stand-up ability, not the comedy kind, because his explosive issue aimed at making Chimaev work hard and use that 2-round gas it up the tank that Chimaev has. Because Chimaev is an ultimate out of here. Because because I was checking DraftKings, and right now Khamzat Chimaev is the favorite to win, and Dricus du Plessis is the underdog. Because people still add this the wall brawler is getting involved. Because Dricus land 6 takedowns and improving those figures against Strickland is not that really impressive as you think, because Khamzat will sub Sean Strickland so fast you almost miss you went for a beer. Just watch the run number 1 Bronson versus DDP. Then imagine Khamzat on this back instead. This will be over quick because Khamzat is generational and they're gonna enjoy the value on Khamzat where you can. It's like betting out to Poirier and Islam before they came champ, because they don't think about it. After that fight, it will be a lot of favoritism to Khamzat Chimaev. So right now, I just wanted to tell you, give me Chimaev by submission at round number 2. And right now, we will see a brand new champion, Khamzat Chimaev, against Dricus du Plessis. So sorry, Dricus, but there's a new champion. It's going to be on Chicago. It is Khamzat Chimaev.
Khamzat Chimaev is definitely a dog. His elite wrestling has definitely made him a contender to watch. He burst onto the scene early in 2020, just basically demolishing the competition as we've seen on Fight Island. His knockout power is absolutely incredible. We've seen his victory against Robert Whittaker, basically breaking his jaw, forcing his teeth inwards, and forcing him to tap. I mean, like, this guy is definitely 16-0 for a reason. I mean, like 14-0. I mean, like, I don't know, 15-0. I mean, how whatever this guy is, he's definitely undefeated for a fucking reason. 14-0, and I just truly believe that he definitely is proven. A lot of people say that he's not proven because of the opponents he has fought. I mean, I don't know what the fuck they're looking at. He fought Robert Whittaker, Kamaru Usman, Kevin Holland, and Gilbert Burns, and Jack Manson. Even though it was a wrestling event, in his last 5, you take out Jack Manson, it's Lee, Jay Ling Lee, and that guy has knockout powers. The who's who. But one thing I would say is don't underestimate DPP. DPP is 9-0 in the UFC. He has one of the greatest strengths that this division, not only this division, but this whole UFC roster has ever seen. His relentless power and his relentless fighting pressure of moving forward fighting style makes it incredible durability and able to withstand any pressure that the opponent, the Alps, is going to set upon him. I truly believe that Khamzat Chimaev is ready for the moment, but we're underestimating the power and the pressure of DPP. I think it's going to be a full-blown Burns match here, and Chimaev is going to utilize his wrestling, but I truly believe the champion will get up to his feet. Early on in the week, and even looking at the pay-per-view, and even looking at the weigh-ins, and even looking at the press conference, Chimaev looking like he's going to come out here like a dog and come out here and slay his prey.
Yeah,
but I was listening to a podcast earlier, Raphael.
Exactly.
And you know what that podcast made me look into? Khamzat Chimaev jumping divisions. Welterweight. Middleweight.
Yeah.
Welterweight. Middleweight. And then part of me was like, you give Usman 5 more rounds? Usman finishes him. He at least gets the victory. You give Gilbert Burns just a little bit more. And I know that's not fair because he did just go out there and do to Robert Whittaker what he did to Robert Whittaker. But I was on Chimaev up until Thursday night. and I'm gonna go with
Yeah.
champion, brother. I just think that Chimaev hasn't seen Chimaev's game. He's gonna run into a fucking brick wall, but I honestly think that DPP's game, he's the same shit. This is the first time in Chimaev's career that he's gonna face a person that's just like him in a way. And
Exactly.
DPP has the better striking, Chimaev has the better wrestling, but DPP went against great wrestlers, not wrestlers to Chimaev's level, but I just see strength of schedule, brother. Brick walls running into a brick wall. I'm gonna take the champion here. I'm gonna take DPP.
Yeah,
By
yeah, I
decision.
understand. I understand because I was checking on all those rankings, and right now,
Mhm.
Khamzat Chimaev is the number 3 in middleweight. But here's the thing, because I don't get why some people keep saying that Khamzat is too big for welterweight, because the people forget that he made a middleweight debut at the UFC and thinking of Wig Eller fought in the welterweight, because we all know that they have a severe case, which either make him not be able to fight anymore, because it's too early if it can't welterweight, because there's gonna be more concern about this mentality to wanting to fight in multiple divisions at the same time. Because I think his mentality is more a reason that he can make weight that physically is unable to, because they used to like a fear like a backlash, because they want to see like it's too big for welterweight, it's oversized, because that's why the weight class, it looks very easy for him. He has size, which advantage. Right now, he's the same size as Jan Bajkovic, and Bajkovic fights in light heavyweight division. It's just like David versus Goliath. I mean, if you look at us here for the rankings, I mean, this is number 3.
You know what I do love though? Like you said it, like he's definitely sizable for the division. He weighed in 3 pounds lesser than the division's weight requirements. He weighed in at what 183 when 185 is the requirement, it's 182. And like, here's the thing about Chimaev. His pressure, his ability to his undefeated record, his ability to not give a fuck, his ability to go out there, take DPP down and submit him in the first round is doable. I honestly think that mentality, that same mentality, that same I'm an undefeated fighter, you can't pressure me, you're not on my same level, is the same mentality that's gonna get him in the trap. That's gonna get him into a dogfight. That's gonna get him into a fight that he's gonna realize that, holy shit, like he's the real deal. And we sleep on DPP so much. I'm always sleeping on DPP. I'm always. But what I noticed about Chimaev is his energy the whole fight week, coming up to DPP, respectfully shaking his hand because he respects him. Chimaev's whole character up into this fight was, I do not respect my opponent. I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna smash him. Now he did it at the press conference, he did it at the weigh-ins. He absolutely did it at the weigh-ins, where the fact that Joe Rogan was like, no, stop. I still need to fucking interview this guy. But I honestly think that's for him. That's for his own hype up. Now, I'm not saying this kid is definitely not the future. Me and you both been praising him, and you'd certainly have picked him to win this fight. He definitely is the future. But I truly believe he takes this loss, and this loss might be his only loss of his fighting career. I think he takes this loss, and this elevates him to even a better fighter. Because I think that overall pressure is great in a sense, but then you're going to hit a brick wall eventually. And when you hit that brick wall, you're going to realize that it comes down to holy shit. It comes down to a little bit of IQ. And I'm not saying Chimaev doesn't have IQ, but I just believe that DPP, the more experienced fighter, the more strength of schedule, the fighter that does fight like a brick wall. You go out there, DPP throws like, if you hit him, he's going to get knocked the fuck out, but he doesn't get knocked the fuck out. He's not supposed to fight like that, but yet this guy proves it over and over and over again. And will he probably get submitted? Will he probably get knocked out? Only time can tell. But
Exactly.
I think that this is why we have to fight him, and I think this is why they have to fight, and this is the most important fight of the year. I know we had a lot of great fights this year, but this answers so much questions, because waiting in the rings is a motherfucker that just knocked out Izzy, and another motherfucker that is a part of the Fighting Nerds that they have an upcoming fight. So when they two fight, I mean, like waiting in the rings is some top level contenders, and whoever wins this fight, I would just say, man, like the middleweight division in general is just a legendary division in 2025. Because even if you lose this fight, I'm talking about the winner, but even if you lose this fight, it doesn't even garnish your resume as much as it should. The loser of this fight, it doesn't ping the resume. What are they going to say? Chimaev, you lost against the best middleweight in the world. What are they going to say? DPP, you lost against one of the greatest prospects the sport has ever seen.
That is true. That is true. All right, so I'm going to show out the brand new images that I just got it right here. So first and foremost, we got Dricus du Plessis, because he's a 9-fight win streak, longest amount active middleweights. He had a strike rate at 6.12, the 4th highest in middleweight history. He wins over 3 former UFC champions. And look at the record. He got 23 wins and only 2 losses. 9 for a knockout, TKO, 11 by submission. And here's another one, which is Khamzat Chimaev, because he understands that he got a record of 14 wins and no losses. 6 by knockout, 6 by submission. And he's got 8-fight win streak with a 4th fastest finish in middleweight history by 17 seconds, with a finish rate at 86%. And I'm going to tell you for this one, I mean, this fight is going to be absolutely great, because it looks like he pushed like a through the spotlight in the cage, but this is going to be like a fucking smash. Because we all know that in some point they say, oh, because they're going to be really scared, but even people know that Dricus du Plessis, it's kind of like a thing to have to use the situation, but it seems that let's just happen with Khamzat Chimaev, because he's on a roll. He knows everything about the grappling, striking, the wrestling. He learns a lot of Khabib and Islam because he understands very well in Dagestan. I mean, who else is going to happen? Who else is going to happen? I mean, there's going to be like so electrifying that all the people can really shock the entire house in Chicago.
Absolutely facts on that. One thing that I want to point out before we get out of here, I am going to share my screen. This guy literally just fought on the Contender Series on Tuesday night. Definitely got the knockout and the fastest turnaround in UFC history. This guy literally just got the knockout on the Contender Series. You see it right here, August 12th. He is turning around. I know a lot of fights got pulled. He's facing Eric Nolan, 8-3 in just a 4 days' notice. Shout out to this motherfucker. This is about seizing the opportunities, and this is what moments are made for. He gets a shot on a UFC pay-per-view. I know he's a prelim fight, but look him to early stoppage. I know he's the highest odds to win on DraftKings, but definitely you can see him probably knocking Eric Nolan out inside the distance. Another fight I wanted to point out before we get out of here is the tough final between the not the welterweights, because that one got canceled, but between the bantamweights. We got these two motherfuckers that definitely showed out into the house in the house, and is gonna probably put on a show. But I'm gonna probably take the 10-0 guy from Kazakhstan, I believe that is. Definitely showed out in the tough tournament. But boy, you can see right here we have a stacked card this weekend, so you guys make sure you guys tune into it. I'll probably be on Letters to the Face with big homie Lou and homie Wills. And who knows, Raphael might be there too, unless he's calling the fights. I'll probably check out Raphael. But boy, do we have a banger event this weekend. So make sure you guys tune in. Let's get it.
Exactly. And of course, before we're wrapping this out, I just wanted to make sure that subscribe to Capitán Rafucho and Zion Zenith on YouTube, because we bring the best of the best in mixed martial arts, wrestling, boxing, only here in the Combat Club. Make sure to subscribe to Capitán Rafucho on YouTube. Also, you can follow me on social media, Twitter at Capitán Rafucho, Instagram at Capitán Rafucho 93, and of course on Kick at Capitán Rafucho. So thank you very much. And if you're able to help this platform, which is Capitán Rafucho, you can make a donation on Cash App. And this week is going to be really interesting for all the mixed martial arts fans, because they have UFC 319 in Chicago. So no matter what happens, there's going to be a lot of things better So thank you very much for joining us at this another episode of the Combat Club. It's 100% extreme attitude because in this club, we're born to fight anyone, anytime, anywhere. So thank you very much. We will see you there at the next episode where we can talk about the post reactions of the UFC 319 and of course the fight in Shanghai, which is very interesting between Johnny Walker and Shanghai, who's going to be on next week. So thank you very much. And of course, we will see you there at the next episode of the Combat Club with Capitán Rafucho and Zion Zenith. So I just wanted to tell you, have a great weekend, have a great Friday, and of course, we will see you there. And
let's go.
Let's go for it. And we're out of here.